At the edge of a wide and peaceful sea, there was a stretch of shoreline that remained calm through every part of the day. The sand was pale and smooth, shaped gently by the slow and steady movement of the tide. Small waves moved toward the shore in quiet rhythm, rising softly and then settling again as they reached the land. Each wave left behind a thin line of foam that slowly faded into the sand. The air above the shore felt cool and still, carrying the soft scent of salt and distant water. The sky stretched wide above the sea, changing slowly as the light moved from day into evening. Colors of pale blue and soft gold rested across the surface of the water, reflecting gently in the slow movement of the waves. Everything along the shore felt steady and balanced, as if nothing needed to change quickly. The sound of the sea remained soft and even, repeating the same calm pattern again and again. As the day moved further into evening, the light became softer and quieter. The sky slowly shifted into deeper shades of blue, and the surface of the sea reflected those colors in long, gentle lines. The waves continued their steady motion, never rushing, never stopping. The shoreline remained still, with no sudden movement, only the slow rhythm of water meeting sand. The air cooled slightly, and the light faded into a calm and quiet glow. The horizon remained wide and open, with no sharp edges, only a smooth line where the sea met the sky. Everything moved in a slow and natural way, following the same quiet rhythm. The surface of the sea moved gently, forming soft curves that rose and fell in a steady pattern. Light from the sky reflected across the water, creating small shifting patterns that moved slowly with each wave. The movement was not strong or fast. It was smooth and even, repeating again and again without change. Small ripples formed and faded across the surface, catching the light before settling back into stillness. The sea did not appear endless in a distant way, but wide and calm, holding its shape beneath the sky. Beneath the surface of the water, not far from the shore, there was a path that rested quietly below. It could not be seen from above unless the water was completely still. The path was made of smooth stone, shaped long ago, forming gentle steps that led downward into the sea. Each step was wide and even, allowing a slow and steady descent. The water above the path remained clear, allowing faint light to reach down through the surface. The light moved softly across the stone, forming quiet patterns that shifted slowly with the movement of the sea above. The path began close to the shore, where the water was shallow and clear. The first steps were touched by soft light from above, making them easy to see. As the steps continued downward, the light became softer, and the colors of the water changed slightly. The pale blue of the surface slowly deepened into a richer shade. The movement of the waves above became quieter, replaced by a calm stillness. Each step felt steady and balanced, with no sudden changes. The descent was slow and even, guided by the gentle curve of the path. As the path continued downward, the light from above softened further. The surface of the sea could still be seen, but it appeared more distant now, moving slowly above like a soft shifting ceiling of light. Small particles drifted through the water, moving gently in the current. They did not rush or change direction suddenly. They simply floated, rising and falling slowly as the water moved around them. The path remained clear beneath each step, guiding the way deeper into the quiet space below. The further the path continued, the quieter everything became. The sound of the surface faded completely, replaced by a deep and steady stillness. The water no longer felt like moving waves, but like a calm and balanced space. The steps remained smooth and even, allowing each movement to remain slow and steady. The light above became softer, forming gentle patterns that moved across the stone path without sharp changes. Everything remained consistent, repeating the same quiet rhythm. At the end of the path, deep beneath the sea, a large stone arch stood quietly. It rose from the ocean floor with a smooth and steady shape, marking the entrance to a hidden place. The surface of the arch was worn gently by time, its edges softened by the slow movement of water. A faint glow came from beyond the arch, not bright, but calm and steady. The water around the entrance remained still, as if it rested there without movement. The arch did not stand alone. It felt connected to the space beyond it, forming a quiet transition from one place to another. Beyond the arch, the space opened slowly into a wide and quiet hall. The water gave way to a calm interior, where the air felt still and balanced. Soft blue light filled the space, coming gently from the walls themselves. The transition was smooth, without sudden change. The floor beneath became solid stone, smooth and even, extending into the distance. The space felt calm and steady, holding a quiet sense of stillness. The first hall of the library stretched wide and open. Tall shelves lined the walls, rising upward in smooth rows. Each shelf held books placed carefully side by side. The shelves followed the curve of the room, creating a gentle and continuous pattern. The light remained soft and even, never flickering, never changing suddenly. The air inside the hall felt calm and steady, with no movement except the faint presence of drifting light. The shelves in the first hall were made of smooth stone shaped into long, quiet rows. They rose higher than the eye at first glance, continuing upward in gentle lines that curved with the walls. Each shelf held books placed carefully beside one another. Some books were large and heavy with wide covers and thick edges. Others were small and narrow, resting lightly between taller volumes. None of the books looked damaged or worn out. They seemed protected by the stillness of the place. Their covers reflected the soft blue light in different ways. Some looked deep and dark like the sea at night. Others held pale silver colors that shifted slowly as the light touched them. A few books showed faint patterns moving across the surface, like the slow motion of light under shallow water. The shelves themselves did not feel crowded. There was space between the books, and space between the rows, and space in the quiet air of the hall. Everything had room to rest where it was. As the eye moved along the shelves, the covers of the books appeared almost alive in the soft glow of the room, not with fast movement, but with gentle change. A dark blue cover would slowly reveal a thin line of pale silver. A silver cover would take on a soft green tone for a moment, then return to blue. The change came only from the light, which rested differently on each surface as the quiet, drifting glow moved through the hall. Some covers were smooth and plain. Others showed simple lines pressed into them, shapes like waves, circles, shells, or stars. A few had no markings at all, only calm color and stillness. The soft light did not shine brightly enough to make sharp reflections. Instead, it moved gently over the books and left them looking calm and deep, as though each one held its own quiet room inside. Above the shelves, small lights drifted through the air. They were round and soft, like little glowing pearls suspended in still water. Some were pale blue, some glowed warm gold. Others seemed almost white, with only a faint color around the edges. They moved very slowly, never in a straight line, and never all at once. One light might rise gently, while another drifted down a little, and another moved across the room in a soft curve. They did not flicker sharply. Their glow remained even and calm. As they passed above the shelves, they cast a quiet layer of light onto the books below. The floating lights seemed to know the space well. They moved with the same patience as everything else in the library, never hurried, never lost, simply drifting through the stillness as if following a quiet path known only to them. A wide aisle opened between two long rows of shelves. The floor beneath was smooth stone, pale and even, with faint lines running through it like soft streams frozen in place. The aisle was wide enough to feel open, never narrow, never crowded. The shelves on both sides rose quietly into the blue light above. As the aisle continued forward, the space seemed to deepen rather than end. The calm air held no noise except the soft sense of stillness itself. A light drifted slowly through the center of the aisle, then moved upward and away. The books on either side remained perfectly still, each one held in place as if it belonged exactly there. Walking through that aisle felt like moving through a long, gentle thought, one that unfolded slowly and never asked to be rushed. Between the shelves stood small reading tables made from pale stone polished smooth over many years. Each table held a single book, already open, its pages resting flat as if paused in the middle of a quiet moment. The tables were simple in shape, with strong round bases and wide tops. Beside each table stood a chair shaped from the same stone, softened by careful carving. The chairs did not look cold. In the soft blue light, they appeared calm and steady, as if they had been made to hold stillness rather than weight. Above each table floated one small light, glowing gently enough to illuminate the open pages below without breaking the hush of the room. The pages did not turn. They remained open and waiting, their lines and shapes resting quietly beneath the glow. The pages inside the open books were unlike ordinary paper. They looked soft and pale, almost like thin sheets made from light itself. When the glow above them shifted, the pages seemed to gather that light and hold it gently. Some pages held lines that curved like waves. Some showed shapes like stars, shells, leaves, or moons. Others carried blocks of calm writing, clear and even across the page. Nothing on the pages moved quickly. If anything changed at all, it changed in the slowest way, as if the pages were breathing in and out with the quiet rhythm of the library. The books on the reading tables did not feel unfinished. They felt paused, resting between one quiet moment and the next. Beyond the first set of shelves, the hall continued farther than it first seemed. New aisles opened gently one after another, each lined with more shelves and more quiet books. The shape of the library was not straight like a building on land. It curved and widened gradually, like a shell opening inward. The farther the hall continued, the softer the light became, though it never disappeared. Each new section seemed calmer than the last. The air remained still. The floating lights drifted more slowly. The floor underfoot kept the same smooth texture, and the shelves followed the gentle curve of the walls. The library did not surprise with sudden changes. It unfolded one quiet part at a time. What filled the library most was not the shelves, or the books, or the lights. It was the quiet. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that feels full and deep. The quiet rested in the aisles, along the shelves, under the tables, and high in the curved ceiling above. It did not press down. It simply stayed, even and calm. In that quiet, every small detail became softer. The glow of the floating lights seemed slower. The covers of the books looked gentler. The stone floor felt steadier. Nothing in the library seemed separate from the stillness around it. Everything belonged inside it. Looking upward, the ceiling of the first hall curved high above like the inside of a wide shell. It was smooth and pale, with long, faint patterns running through the stone. The patterns looked like water lines left by a slow tide, though they were part of the ceiling itself and never changed. The soft blue light rose toward that curve and settled there gently, making the highest part of the room look even more distant and quiet. No beams crossed overhead, no lamps hung down. The light simply existed in the space, resting on stone, on shelves, and on air. The ceiling held it all together in one calm shape. At the far end of the first hall, another opening appeared. It was wide and gently rounded, framed in pale stone like the first arch at the entrance. Beyond it, another room could be seen, larger than the first and slightly darker in tone. The floating lights drifted through the opening in slow, quiet motion, moving from one hall into the next as though there were no boundary at all. The shelves beyond looked taller. The space beyond looked deeper. The floor remained smooth and pale. The library continued, not with sudden change, but with a calm invitation to go farther into its stillness. Beyond the opening, the library widened into a larger inner hall. The shelves here stood farther apart, giving the room a more open and spacious feeling. The floor stretched in long, pale lines beneath the soft blue light. The ceiling rose higher, curving gently overhead. In this hall, the floating lights moved in wider paths, drifting slowly between the upper spaces above the shelves. The books here were arranged with the same care as before, but they seemed older and quieter somehow, as if they had been resting in this place for a very long time. Their covers were darker in tone, deep blue, gray, green, and silver, and many of them held very simple markings pressed into the surface, small circles, single lines, or soft wave shapes. Nothing in the hall felt forgotten. Everything looked preserved by stillness, held in calm balance by the quiet of the sea above and the quiet of the library within. The shelves in this inner hall were different from the first ones. Their stone was darker and smoother, shaped by long years until the edges had become almost soft to the eye. The rows were even and steady, Some shelves held books standing upright. Others held books stacked flat in neat piles. A few spaces between the books were left open, not empty in a careless way, but open in a calm and deliberate way, as if silence itself had been given a place to rest on the shelf. The floating lights above these older shelves glowed more softly, and their slow movement created gentle shifts in color across the stone. The books remained still, their covers catching the light in calm patterns. Nothing here changed quickly. The whole room felt as if it had been waiting quietly for a very long time and was in no hurry for anything at all. In the center, spaces between the shelves, stood longer tables than before, also carved from stone, their surfaces wide and smooth. On them rested larger books, some open, some closed, each one placed with clear care. A few tables held several books together, lined in a quiet row. The chairs beside these tables were heavier and lower than the chairs in the first hall, shaped to feel grounded and steady. Over each table drifted one or two glowing lights, and their reflections moved softly over the stone surfaces. The open books here had pages that seemed thicker and paler, as though made from layers of soft pressed material that held the light differently. The writing and markings across the pages were gentle and even. Some pages looked like maps. Others looked like long columns of symbols or lines arranged in quiet order. All of it rested in stillness. Off to one side of the hall was a smaller room with wide, low shelves and long, flat tables. Here, instead of upright books, many rolled pages rested in stone trays. Some were tied with thin cords. Others were open across the tables, showing wide, pale surfaces marked with curving lines, circles and symbols arranged like careful drawings. The room felt especially calm, as if even the drifting lights moved more slowly there. A large round table at the center held a single map-like page spread open beneath a soft gold light. Its lines curved in ways that suggested currents, paths, or journeys, though nothing on it felt hurried or sharp. The edges of the page were smooth. The markings were delicate and clear. Around the room, the quiet remained deep and steady, giving the wide pages and long tables a sense of gentle importance without urgency. Beyond the room of long maps, a curved passage connected one part of the library to another. The passage was wide enough for calm, easy movement, and its walls were smooth and pale, with faint natural patterns that looked like the inside of shells, or the soft marks left by slow water over stone. The floor curved gently beneath, following the shape of the walls, so that walking through the passage felt like moving inside a quiet current. Small lights drifted overhead, and then passed onward into the next room. The air stayed cool and still. No sound echoed. The passage simply carried the stillness from one hall into the next, keeping the whole library connected in one long, calm flow. At the heart of the library stood a great round chamber beneath a high dome. The room opened slowly and fully, wider than any space before it. The ceiling curved overhead like the inside of a giant shell, smooth and pale with soft lines running across it in long arcs. In the center of the dome stood a single large table, circular and low, with one great book resting open upon it. Around the central table, the floor spread outward in wide rings, and shelves curved along the walls in perfect calm symmetry. The floating lights gathered higher here, drifting slowly beneath the dome like quiet stars. Their soft glow moved across the curved stone above, and settled in calm patterns around the room. The great book on the center table remained open, its pale pages wide and still beneath the gentle light. The book at the center of the dome was larger than any of the others. Its cover was deep blue-gray, with faint silver lines pressed into it, like the movement of water seen from far above. The pages were wide and thick, resting flat upon the table. Soft light settled over them in a calm, even glow. The markings across the pages were quiet and spacious. There were long lines, gentle curves, and sections of writing that seemed arranged with great care. Nothing on the pages appeared crowded. Each line had space around it. Each shape rested in its own calm place. The book did not look dramatic or heavy. It looked peaceful, as though it had been open there for a very long time, and would remain open long after the lights drifted onward through the room. Around the central dome, the shelves followed the circular walls in perfect, quiet order. They rose from the floor to midway up the walls, each level lined with books placed evenly side by side. The arrangement was simple and calm. Some books were dark, some were pale. Some seemed almost transparent at the edges where the light touched them. The curved shelves made the room feel complete, like everything in the library slowly circled back to this center. The floating lights passed in slow arcs above the ring of shelves, and the shadows they cast were soft and rounded. Nothing broke the calm shape of the room. Everything supported it. Everything remained inside the same steady rhythm. The deeper into the library the eye moved, the quieter everything seemed to become. In the central dome, the stillness felt fuller than before. It rested in the air like a gentle weight, not pressing down, but holding the room together in one calm whole. The floating lights drifted more slowly there. The pages of the great book seemed even more still. The shelves around the walls looked almost like part of the dome itself. The room did not feel empty. It felt complete. The quiet there was not the absence of sound. It was the presence of peace, spread evenly across stone, light, books, and air. Beyond the central dome, small alcoves opened in the outer walls, each one holding a single shelf or a small reading place. These alcoves were shallower and more private than the wide halls. Some contained one chair and one open book. Others held a narrow shelf with only a few volumes resting there in careful order. The light in these spaces was softer than anywhere else, pale and calm, making the alcoves feel almost hidden even though they were open to the larger room. The air in them felt especially still. They seemed made for quiet pause rather than movement. Looking into them gave the feeling that the library extended not only through halls and rooms, but through smaller, quiet corners where time itself seemed to rest. A very soft current moved through the library, almost too light to notice at first. It did not disturb the shelves or the books. It did not shift the pages or the tables. It simply passed through the space in a slow and steady way, like a quiet breath moving through still air. The floating lights followed this current gently, drifting a little farther, a little higher, then settling again into calm motion. The current did not begin or end. It continued softly, connecting every hall, every aisle, every quiet corner of the library into one steady flow. It carried no sound. It carried only a sense of movement so soft that it felt like stillness itself. The wide dome, The curved shelves, the long halls, and the quiet alcoves all remained exactly as they were. Nothing had changed, nothing needed to change. The great book at the center remained open, resting in calm light. The floating lights drifted slowly above. The shelves held their rows of quiet books without movement. The entire library existed in a steady balance, as if it had always been this way, and would remain this way without effort. There was no sense of time passing here, only a quiet continuation of stillness. Slowly, the path that had led into the library remained open again. The curved passage, the map room, the long tables and the wide aisles rested quietly behind. The stone arch at the entrance waited in the same calm way as before. The light beyond it was soft, showing the path that led gently upward through the sea. There was no need to hurry. The return path was the same as the path down, steady and smooth, guiding each step in a calm and natural rhythm. The first steps upward followed the same smooth stone path. The light from above remained soft, gradually growing a little brighter with each step. The deep blue of the water slowly shifted into lighter shades. The stillness of the deep sea remained present, but now there was a faint sense of gentle movement again, as if the surface was quietly calling from above. Each step felt light and steady, with no sudden change, no pressure, no rush. The path continued upward in a slow and even curve. The water above became clearer, and the soft movement of the surface could be seen again, far above at first, then slowly closer. Small particles drifted past, moving gently in the quiet current. The light became a little brighter, but still calm and soft. The surface of the sea did not feel distant anymore. It felt close, like a quiet layer waiting just above. The final steps approached the surface where the water met the open air. The light above spread wide and pale, reflecting softly through the water. The slow motion of the waves could be seen clearly now, rising and falling in steady rhythm. The path beneath remained smooth and steady, guiding the final steps upward. Nothing changed quickly. Everything followed the same gentle pace as before. The surface opened back into the calm shoreline. The same pale sand stretched along the edge of the sea. The waves continued their quiet motion, reaching the shore and returning again. The sky above rested in soft evening light, slowly fading into deeper blue. The air felt cool and still, carrying the same quiet calm as before. Nothing had changed. The shoreline remained just as it was, steady and peaceful. The sound of the waves became softer and softer, blending into the quiet of the evening. Each wave rose gently, reached the shore, and faded again. The rhythm repeated slowly, evenly, without interruption. The sound did not demand attention. It simply remained, steady and calm, like a soft pattern repeating in the background. The air grew still. The light dimmed slightly. Everything began to soften. Breathe in slowly, like the gentle rise of a wave, and breathe out softly, like the quiet return of the water to the sea. There is nothing to follow, nothing to think about, just this slow, steady rhythm. Inhale softly. A gentle pause. Exhale slowly. Another soft pause. Let each breath become slower than the one before. Let the body feel heavier, resting more deeply with each breath. The day can rest now. The thoughts can quiet down. The plans can wait. Just like the library beneath the sea, everything can settle into stillness. Nothing needs to be finished. Nothing needs to be solved. Everything can remain exactly as it is. Calm, quiet, steady. Let the mind drift gently, like the floating lights in the library, moving slowly without direction. The quiet grows deeper. The body grows heavier. The mind becomes softer, like calm water under a still sky. Each breath carries you further into rest, further into stillness, further into sleep. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, just drifting, gently and quietly, like the slow movement of the sea. And now, as everything settles into calm, sleep can arrive naturally, not forced, not rushed, just softly, quietly, like the steady rhythm of the waves along the shore. Let yourself rest. Let yourself drift. Let yourself sleep.